And the Philippine government has elevated its position that on the Scarborough Shoal and islands within the Spratlys issue before the United Nations in the wake of continuing incursions by Chinese vessels on what historically belongs to the country. It shows the determination of the Aquino administration to assert that these islands are within the country's exclusive economic zone. And joining us tonight is a former security consultant of the National Security Council, former Air Force Captain Ashley Asedillo. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Robert, and good evening to your other co-anchors as well.
Sir, was the decision of the Department of Foreign Affairs to elevate its rightful claim to areas contested by China in the West Philippine Sea decisive to prevent more incursions of Philippine territory?
I don't know about decisive, but I would agree that it's the best option for the moment. You cited that there are two other options available to us and they have failed. And this is what you would call our last card. But if I may add that, we still have another option that we should develop. And this is the option, I think, which we should not yet contemplate as of now, because this, I think, requires more preparation, and this would be more, I would say, contentious. So as of now, the option to go to the United Nations in the International Tribunal for Law of the Sea is, I would say, a well calculated and a wise move.
So as a security consultant, based on the country's historical claim, do you think that the UN will decide in our favor?
This is the problem with that option, though. As wise as it is, if the ITLOS declares that they don't have any jurisdiction over a bunch of rocks and shoals, because they would declare rather that what jurisdiction they have is over maritime borders, then we have a problem. Literally, we're back to square one.
So now, settling the claims of not only the Philippines but other countries, do you think by elevating this in the UN, will this ease the tension in the area or not?
This will ease the tension in the sense that there is an while we wait for the average of 3 to 4 years. By the way, that's the average length of time that it will take the ITLOS to settle any maritime arbitrary settlement. The thing is, those 3 to 4 years gives us an interregnum. So hopefully, if our side, while waiting for that resolution, the other side will also abide by the same setup. Problem is, if the other party disregards that resolution and goes ahead and tries to up the ante again in the West Philippine Sea.
So what about China saying that they'd rather discuss this issue bilaterally and hopefully not elevate it into to the UN?
When we say bilaterally, that will only work if we are talking about co-equals talking in a table. In our case, clearly, we are at a disadvantage. When we are at a disadvantage, we should not enter into such a setup. First, even before going to the UN, we had the ASEAN Forum, which we were not able to make use of. Now, we have been brought to a corner where we should go to the UN already. But this is not to say that we should not continue with our confidence-building measures with China. That is considered bilateral, but in the sense that we need to bring this matter to a final conclusion, then I think a bilateral setup would not do us any good.
So, in your opinion, sir, by elevating it into the UN arbitral way, do you think this will resolve the issue at hand?
It remains to be seen, Robert, but that is our hope. And since this has been a clear move or a clear indication on the part of our government to mend ties with China, because we have not, so to speak, internationalized the issue. Instead, we brought it to the proper forum. Then this coupled with hopefully a more positive outlook in terms of a positive or a decision on the part of ITLOS favoring us, then those two will combine for a good outlook for the Philippines.
So how about a joint exploration on mineral resources in the Spratlys? Do you think China will agree on this?
Do you mean, when you say joint exploration, do we mean that we enter into this while we wait for the resolution under ITLOS, or should we do this after?
In your opinion, sir, what would be the best way to do that? Should we actually wait after the decision of the UNCLOS, or right now, just to ease the tension, should we actually go on with these kinds of discussions?
Well, there is a problem with that premise, because this requires China recognizing our claim. This is China recognizing that we have some sort of claim over the natural resources in that area. So I don't think it's very clear-cut for them as clear-cut as it is for us. Because for us, I think there's nothing wrong with contemplating such an option. And I think it's for a net importer of oil like the Philippines, it's a very good idea, actually.
So now that it has been elevated in the UN tribunal, how long do you think this case will be settled? And do you think, will China be also asked to present its case?
The ITLOS has had a history of in its arbitrage, even in the absence of the other party. So clearly, in this case, the Philippines is the willing party. We're not sure if China is willing to participate in this process. Hopefully they do, and even if they don't, and this will be to our advantage, they lose by default, so to speak. Now, in terms of how long it will take for ITLOS, like I said, it usually takes them 3 to 4 years. This is a very complicated process, a very technical process, and I'm sure the UN would like to be very thorough in its determination of all things to be considered in this issue. So that's a lot of time. In the meantime, all we can do is hope for the best, because we never know. 3 to 4 years is a very long time.
And I guess we'll also have to wait whether, after this decision comes, whether each party complies with this decision.
Yes, that's the next problem. You may get a favorable decision.
Yes.
I mean, the Philippines may get a favorable decision from the UN. It remains to be seen how China will behave, or will China abide by the decision of the UN.
So in the meantime, what is the best option for the Philippines to ensure incursions will stop and the tensions will not rise? Do you think our Navy is ready to cope with any incidents?
It's timely that you asked that question, Robert. The President just signed last December 11, 2012, the extended modernization law, outlaying 75 billion for the first 5 years. It's high time that we develop our Navy and our Air Force, which will be the primary instruments of national policy in this case, if we need to use that option. China may, or our neighbors, especially China, may say that, hey, why is the Philippines arming? Why is the Philippines escalating tensions? No, we are, as a sovereign nation, obliged. It is our sovereign duty to develop our armed forces to protect our people and our sovereignty. Therefore, we should not be faulted for that. And it's about time. We are a maritime nation. We do not only have to worry about people encroaching into our territory, we should worry about poachers who deprive us of the use of our natural resources when we are not able to deter them or interdict them in the areas where they fish illegally. We have pirates pass. It's one of the busiest sea lanes of communication, the South China Sea. We need to patrol that. We need to give our share to the international community in ensuring that this part of the world is safe for maritime navigation.
And finally, sir, with the pivot policy of the U.S. in the Asia-Pacific, will it help the Philippines' case in asserting our sovereignty over these areas?
You know what, Robert? I'm sure you've been following the developments in the Senkaku, or the Chinese call it Diaoyu. When tensions escalated there between Japan and China, the most glaring statement that I heard from Japan was that they were not going to rely on the U.S. security shield. This is not to say that we are disregarding our long-standing friendship with the U.S., but as I said again, as a self-respecting sovereign nation, we are obliged to provide for our own defense. Whether or not the U.S. comes to our aid because of the Mutual Defense Treaty remains to be seen. But as of now, it's all talk. So we better be prepared for any eventuality.
And sir, final word, do you think there is a light at the end of the tunnel? Do you see this, how do you see this panning out in the future?
It's really hard to see how this will end, Robert, but like I said, let's be prepared for any eventuality. Consider all options, prepare for any eventuality, and as I said, we are a sovereign nation. Any self-respecting nation should be prepared to defend what is rightfully theirs.
Okay, on that note, thank you very much for joining us tonight. That was Mr. Ashley Asedillo, a former consultant of the National Security Council. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.